News to pass along on the economy, growing all of 0.7% in the first quarter. It was expected to be weak, but not that weak. This has fueled an argument for how you turn that around. If, for example, the Federal Reserve is out of the stimulus business, maybe tax cuts are the answer. America's Prosperity President Tim Phillips, he was in a lot of those meetings at the White House yesterday about these tax cuts. Maybe he can update us. Obviously, Tim, they had to have some idea that the economy would be slower in the first quarter, traditionally is, but now this has raised concerns that it could be pointing to something more worrisome. A, do you agree with that? Did you get a sense that the people you were talking to were worried about that?
We spoke with Secretary Mnuchin and Gary Cohen, and there is a realization that if they're going to get this economy moving again, along with regulatory reform, tax reform is the way to do it. Gary Cohen actually said they're fast-tracking every effort on tax reform, hoping to get it done this year, and that's good news, I believe. It's a good, bold plan, Neil, they put forward a couple of days ago, and it does offer the best chance to get this economy moving again in a meaningful way.
As you know, there's some problem with this deficit issue here, and some Republicans who insist dynamic accounting or no, we need to pay for these, make them revenue neutral from the get-go. In other words, we can't even afford a slight dip in revenue while we wait for that revenue to come in. Is the administration worried about that and what could be another health care, you know, kind of a back-and-forth debate fiasco?
They know the history of tax cuts, both under the Reagan years and during the George W. Bush years, when tax cuts, lowering the rates, actually increased government revenues. They know the history. They know that works. They do, I think, and I hope, understand the need to get spending under control. Mulvaney, the OMB director, Neil, his initial budget outline was good on discretionary spending. It actually kept within the defined spending limits that have been in place since 2011. I do think they understand the need for that. The health care bill would rein in and reform Medicaid, which, along with Medicare and Social Security, are the three biggest drivers of spending at the government level. So I do think they understand that, although we're urging them, and I think they agree, don't be chained to that. Go big on the tax cut. Understand the history that lowering rates does increase revenues, and then still work to get spending under control in coming years.
A lot of people agree with that, Senator Tim. I'm just worried here that this could be another health care deal. Already it was looking early this week that there was going to be broad agreement, and a number of Freedom Caucus members were rallying around a rework of that, repeal and replace of Obamacare, and then apparently it went kaboom or whatever, and either moderates didn't like it. I can almost envision the same act playing itself out here. What do you think?
Well, the biggest point of contention could be this border adjustment tax, Neil, which in our view is a consumer tax, over $1 trillion. The House leadership has proposed it. The President and Secretary Mnuchin and Cohen smartly did not include it in their plan. That could be a big point of contention if the House leadership insists on that. But, Neil, I believe that's dead. The Senate, the votes aren't there for the BAT in the Senate.
Where do you get that, it comes back to that and other groups saying here's our down payment on this tax cut?
You get it with spending cuts, especially the Medicaid reforms. Neil, that would be an enormous cost saver if they get the health care deal done and actually get the Medicaid reform. And you know what that means. You've covered that before. It block grants it, it lowers the amount of money dramatically, but more importantly, it changes the formula for how much per patient on Medicaid will be spent. It would be a dramatic cost saver. And then we do applaud a lot of the deductions that the Trump plan starts reining in. It's a two-pronged effort. Make the tax code simpler, flatter, with fewer deductions, and then get spending under control. But we're urging them, don't be chained to that. Go big and bold with this plan. Trust the history of tax cuts and actually increasing revenue because of those tax cuts.
Yeah, and what was it? Play off the old Reagan line, go big or go home. All right, Tim Phillips, American for Prosperity, is the president there.